For many good reasons, you are probably much more willing to be dropped into the middle of nowhere on land rather than in the ocean or sea. After all, it does appear that once you venture into the depths, life starts to become more disturbing. This seems to be a common trend throughout history, as every point in time often has an animal or two lurking in the waters that was far scarier than anything found on land. One documentary that nicely sums this up is Sea Monsters, which made a list of the top 10 deadliest seas of all time. Among those mentioned were Jurassic waters home to giant pliosaurs, Paleozoic oceans filled with giant cephalopods and sea scorpions, and even the Cenozoic Sea, which was home to the largest shark of all time. However, all this paled in comparison to their winner, a body of water that existed during the late Cretaceous, home to numerous animals that would put most of today's marine predators to shame. Some of these beasts were included in the documentary, yet many didn't make the cut despite being worthy of tingling your thalassophobia and adding more reasons as to why this body of water was absolutely the worst place to go swimming. Welcome, my friends, to the Western Interior Seaway, or as some people call it, Hell's Aquarium. While you may have never heard of this prehistoric shallow ocean or inland sea, there's a fair chance you've walked across it, or at least what's left of it, if you live in the United States, Mexico, or Canada. When it was filled with water, it split these countries, drawing a line through most of North America. In the process, it created two island continents that no longer exist, Laramidia, which lay to the west, and Appalachia to the east. This state of existence persisted for roughly 34 million years. From the early Cretaceous, 100 million years ago, to the earliest Paleocene epoch, 66 million years ago. Throughout this time, sea monsters could be found at every point. But some periods were unarguably worse than others, with the Western Interior Seaway reaching its climax during the Campanian age of the late Cretaceous. At the time, the seaway was warm and tropical in nature, spanning 600 miles at its widest point and measuring over 2,000 miles long. Additionally, it was remarkably shallow for its size, being only 900 meters deep at its deepest point compared to its average depth of around 50 meters. Yet despite its smallish size, the Western Interior Seaway still managed to cram in a ridiculous amount of nightmarish predators that were routinely larger and scarier than any of the predatory dinosaurs seen on land. The Mosasaurs were the most famous of these aquatic monsters and likely the worst to swim into. This extinct group of aquatic reptiles could grow to massive sizes and were characterized by body shapes similar to that of monitor lizards. However, unlike their modern-day relatives, most mosasaurs had 4 paddle-like flippers instead of limbs, and their bodies were elongated and streamlined for maximum drag reduction. Depending on how advanced the species was, these guys would have either swum like an eel in an undulating fashion, or in later developed mosasaurs like a shark, as they had larger tail flukes that propelled them with surprising speed. These powerful swimmers completely dominated the Western Interior Seaway, often being the biggest predators and sporting highly specialized teeth that were typically large, sharp, and serrated. Their success ultimately resulted in them enjoying a high level of diversification that they didn't experience anywhere else. Over 10 genera are known to have coexisted all at once, ranging from 2 meters or 6.5 feet to possibly 18 meters or 59 feet in length. But despite their diversity, chances are you'd only be attacked by 3 kinds: Clydastes, Platecarpus, and Tylosaurus, as together they represented the most abundant mosasaurs in this environment. Of the trio, the smallest was Clydastes, who was still by no means tiny, with certain specimens growing up to 6.2 meters or 20 feet in length. Similar to the largest recorded great whites, although it was much narrower, which gave it the advantage of being an extremely agile hunter. Things start to ramp up with Platecarpus, as this abundant mosasaur was a tad bigger, with certain individuals measuring 7 meters or 24 feet, from head to tail while weighing about 1 ton. Despite its size, however, Platecarpus was likely not a huge threat to aquatic megafauna, as studies on its teeth suggest that it primarily feasted on smaller fish and soft-tissued squid within deeper waters. But don't relax too much, as the third most common mosasaur was a giant with an appetite to match, Tylosaurus. This mosasaur was similar to others of its kind, but everything about it was much bigger, with adults being anywhere from 12 to 15.8 meters, comparable to a humpback whale, and one of the largest mosasaurs on the planet. Unlike Platecarpus, Tylosaurus had teeth that were no joke, with up to 32 large, thick, recurved, and serrated teeth, designed for tearing through large animals. And then there was Mosasaurus, the largest of them all. Occasionally growing up to 17.1 meters long and weighing over 10 tons, this massive predator boasted an equally deadly bite. It had a bite force of 16,000 pounds per square inch, about 4 times the power of a saltwater crocodile's bite. This allowed Mosasaurus to become one of the Western Interior Seaway's apex predators, hunting a wide variety of prey with its powerful binocular vision, which provided clear views even in murky waters. With these fearsome creatures prowling the waters, it's no wonder that the Western Interior Seaway remains one of the most terrifying prehistoric oceans in history. The title of deadliest jaws in these waters belonged to a true titan of the Western Interior Seaway, the Deinosuchus, a colossal predator that prowled the outer edges of the Western Interior Seaway. Yep, that's right. This prehistoric body of water not only had the largest mosasaurs of all time, but one of the largest crocodilians as well. Deinosuchus was a dominant predator in the region, inhabiting bays, estuaries, and coastal areas, with evidence showing it also ventured into deeper waters. Fossils found in marine deposits confirm their presence throughout these environments, making it a formidable force in both shallow and open waters. Furthermore, it definitely lived on both the eastern and western side of the seaway, and interestingly differed in size depending on which side it lived. To the east, Deinosuchus grew to smaller sizes but were far more plentiful, while in the west they were fewer but far larger, reaching 12 meters or 39 feet in length. This obviously isn't very close to the length of the largest mosasaurs, though Deinosuchus was far more robust in build, allowing it to stand its ground when it came to weight, with estimates suggesting a maximum of around 8.5 tons. Disregarding weight, Deinosuchus had the advantage of more impregnable defenses since, like many crocodilians, it too was covered in osteoderms. However, Deinosuchus was a bit unique in that its osteoderms are much larger and heavier than normal. In fact, when they were first recovered, paleontologists confused them for the armor of an ankylosaurus. These homegrown armored plates would have covered the back of adult Deinosuchus and were hemispherical in shape, providing ample armor while also serving as attachment points for tissue, which ultimately played a massive role in its ability to walk outside of water. Overall, these osteoderms made Deinosuchus one of the better equipped animals in the waters, but what really made it stick out was its monstrous bite. For starters, Deinosuchus had massive skulls that were alligator-like in structure, meaning they were very broad, giving them immense biting power that was only amplified by the presence of well-developed jaw muscles. All of this resulted in a bite that potentially delivered more power than even that of a fully grown T-Rex, with some studies estimating a bite force of over 100,000 newtons, 5 times the power needed to crush a car. This staggering amount of energy would have been channeled into their robust teeth that were sharper towards the front and blunter towards the back, suggesting that this croc was designed to crush things to death rather than tear. It's thought that, like the American alligator, Deinosuchus was an opportunistic feeder who munched on anything it could catch. Yet fossil evidence shows that it had a preference for marine turtles, large fish, and dinosaurs that ventured too close to the water. The coasts and shallow reefs of this prehistoric seaway were no doubt a terrible place to be if trying to avoid the largest predators around. And at the very same time, there were horrors swimming around that we are all too familiar with: sharks. They may not have been the true kings of the time, but they were still highly successful, playing the role of both scavengers and active predators, while also being one of the most commonly found carnivores around. Like many, these Cretaceous sharks apparently had a touch of gigantism, as a few types found in the seaway were among the largest known sharks. Although in contrast to, say, Deinosuchus, size didn't necessarily mean the sharks made the waters deadlier, since the biggest of them all was actually relatively harmless to most. This was a mackerel shark the size of a whale shark, but unlike the whale shark, it didn't use filter feeding, yet was still highly specialized in its own regard, sporting a dirophagus diet, meaning it primarily ate anything with a shell or exoskeleton. This odd diet was deduced by the shark's teeth, which weren't sharp or serrated, but were instead fairly flat plates that were designed to crush. These teeth were abundant, sometimes numbering over 500, and could be absolutely huge, with the biggest recorded being longer than a ruler. These robust teeth would have allowed the shark to easily crush a variety of slow, hard-moving prey like crustaceans or turtles. Not all sharks are this docile, though, as when you do go down in size, you run into a still fairly big yet much more voracious toothy fish, the Cretaceous, more commonly known as the Ginsu Shark. Like Tias, this was a mackerel shark, but this one bore a striking resemblance to our very own modern-day great white. Though unlike the great white, the Ginsu Shark was larger, measuring upwards of 8 meters or 26 feet in length, with some estimates suggesting it could have grown even bigger than that. As we conclude our journey through Hell's Aquarium, we reflect on the incredible diversity and sheer power of these prehistoric sea monsters. Their dominance in the ancient seas is a testament to the relentless force of evolution. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the past. Stay curious, and until next time, keep exploring. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this video for more fascinating content.